Buffets, an all-you-can-eat form of dining where the food is laid out for the customer in various trays and buckets of slop. Buffets are offered at a variety of places, including restaurants, hotels, social events, and that's about it, to be honest. There are also smorgasbords, but those are just buffets with cold food. Really disappointing for such a cool name. But anyways, today we're focusing on one of those buffets in particular, and that is the world-famous all-you-can-eat buffet. Found at places like Golden Corral, Cece's, Shoney's, and Pizza Ranch? Like, seriously, I've eaten at a Pizza Ranch before and I'm still perplexed by it. But today we're going to be looking into the ever-shady buffet industry and how these places offer misleading deals. Buffets pride themselves on their extreme value because you pay one set cost for unlimited food. I mean, how could these buffets even profit when you can eat as much as you physically can? Little do you know, the buffet always wins. However, that's what we're aiming to change in this video. Without any further ado, let's delve right into the bottomless serving of lore behind buffets and their sneaky business practices, as well as how to beat the buffet once and for all. Before we get into how modern-day buffets work, it's important to understand the history of buffets first. In the 19th century, supper, a lighter meal some hours before the main dinner, was sometimes served as a buffet, especially late at night at grand balls, where not everyone in attendance eats at the same time or eats the same amount. I mean, obesity was nowhere near the problem that it is today, but a literal king of France was once deemed Charles the Fat, so it's definitely nice to have some extra food lying around. The term buffet originally referred to the French sideboard furniture where the food was placed, but eventually became applied to the serving format. There's the shortened version of the history of the buffet, not really too much going on with it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. The goal of the buffet is to quickly fill each customer's happy little belly for the lowest cost possible. But with prices like Golden Corral's $16.99 dinner, how on earth are they supposed to profit? The first way buffets are able to limit their spending is their labor cost. Having a self-serving system allows for waiters to not have to serve food, as the customers will happily gouge their own mouths full of whatever slop they decide to chow down on. Labor costs are also cut on cooks, who can instead make an entire night's worth of food in large batches instead of individual dishes one at a time. Joe Erickson, a managing partner of the food consultancy Restaurant Owner, states that at a typical restaurant, a cook can service 25 customers per hour, and that's at best. In the same amount of time, a single buffet cook might be able to prep enough food for 200 people. Another obvious money-saving tactic is buying the cheapest cuts of meats and vegetables, as well as buying them in bulk for an extremely cheaper cost. And probably the most disgusting tactic of all, the trickle-down specials, which are essentially day-old vegetables or meat that they overstocked on and are now using them in the super hash for the next day. Because, in their defense, it is hard to gauge how much food a buffet will need, so it's actually really common for buffets to just reuse what they didn't sell the previous day, as long as it's safe for human consumption, right? Well, that's up to the customer to decide when they debate on eating the glorious fried chicken from Pizza Ranch. But with the knowledge of how buffets cut corners, it still seems impossible that for $16.99, the buffet is still able to profit of people eating seamlessly endless amounts of food. And you're right, it wouldn't be possible without some highly effective and research-proven tactics to essentially scam the customer from the shadows. By nature, buffets attract the very customers they wish to avoid, the average American Joe with an insatiable appetite. All of these methods I'm about to list are from official studies, but you could choose whether to believe me or not. For the sake of this video, you probably just want to believe me because they're true. The first thing buffets do is they put the cheap filling stuff at the front of the buffet line. An official study states that 75% of buffet customers just pick whatever food's in the first tray, and 66% of all customers say the food they consume comes from the first 3 trays. So with that knowledge, you just put your cheap stuff there, everybody grabs that before they even see what's further down the line. So if you put your expensive stuff down there, as they're walking along, they'll pick up the little cheap little breads and pastas at the start, and by the time they're at the end, they have no more room for food, even if the stuff at the end of the line is significantly higher in quality and more expensive. Buffets also use smaller plates because, I mean, if you fill up your plate quickly, you're not going to be able to put any more food on there. So this kind of goes with the last one. If you fill up your plate with cheap stuff, you can't put expensive stuff on there. Which honestly, I've had my doubts about this one because I don't really care if I have to get up and go for 10 different plates. That doesn't really bother me, but they also use larger than average serving sizes for things like pasta and potatoes, so naturally you're going to fill up the large spoon with a larger amount of food. But in the reverse, buffets use smaller utensils for things like steak and chicken, all the expensive meats. Another huge thing buffets take advantage of is water weight. Believe it or not, water can fill you up. Now, granted, water isn't actually filling you up because there are no nutritional values or calories, for that matter, so an hour later you're going to be back to starving again. However, the illusion water provides is tricking your brain into thinking it's more full than it actually is. But how do they take advantage of this? Simple, they frequently refill your water cup. And if you notice, buffets tend to use large glasses. We've already been over how larger utensils affect how big you gauge serving sizes, but hold it right there. What about high-end buffets? Like the $98 brunch, yes, I know, it's ridiculous, at the Hotel de Coronado in San Diego. Surely at that price and that classy of a reputation, there would be no reason for them to use the same shady tactics that a greasy Golden Corral would. right? Well, even at almost $100 and way more average stars on Yelp reviews, you'd be pleasantly surprised that they use the exact same tactics. Customers quote, "They hide the truffles and the oysters," even going as far as saying you literally can't find them. However, despite these tactics, there are still ways to beat the buffet, and that's what we're about to expose. Our first step to beating the buffet is making sure we get the most valuable food from the lineup. I'm a bread fiend, I'll admit it, but you're not going to beat the buffet grabbing the day-old dinner rolls from the start of the buffet. As sad as it is to hear, bread is extremely cheap and yet decently filling, meaning you will fill up quickly on bread. And considering it's the cheapest item on the buffet, bread is a must avoid. Also, since it's full of carbs, you'll run out of energy before too long because carbohydrates are known for providing quick energy, which burns off fast, making you hungry again within the next hour or so. Will it stop me from getting bread? Probably not. But we're talking about beating the buffet here, so we must keep that in mind. I guess I can lower my bread intake, but we'll get there when we get there. But what about the other food at a buffet? How do they compare to the price of bread? For reference, 2 dozen dinner rolls can be bought on wholesale for $1.12, meaning a serving of bread is worth, drumroll please, a whopping 5 cents. That's right. Bread is definitely not the move. Even potatoes average out to 30 cents a serving, which means all fries, scallops, and other various potato dishes. Salads are not much of an upgrade, being worth an average of 50 cents a serving. Pasta is surprisingly more than the vegetables, being about 75 cents per serving, which is great to know because, shockingly, I'm also a fiend for pasta. Probably even more than bread. Before we get into the big ticket items, it is important to note the cost distribution and margins on a buffet. On average, only 37% of the cost of a buffet is dedicated towards the food. The rest of the cost goes towards labor, rent, and other miscellaneous items. And, shockingly enough, the expected profit margin is only about 5% for most buffets, meaning Golden Corral expects to only make about 85 cents from every customer. So, our goal as a buffet eater is to eat more than the expected cost of food. So, using that math, our goal is $6.28 worth of food to beat Golden Corral. Also, I should mention the only reason I keep beating up Golden Corral is because it feels like the most popular and standard buffet that's just easy to pick on. Anyways, chicken averages out to a decent $1.13 per serving, making it a good choice for protein at the buffet. However, the ultimate champion of value, coming at no surprise, is steak. Steak averages out to a whopping $2.25 a serving. That's an insane 45 times the value of the average dinner roll, which makes steak the most expensive option when it comes to the average buffet. So, with all this information in mind, how do you apply it? So, using all of our newly acquired knowledge on the best ways to beat the buffet, what is the optimal game plan which allows for the optimal enjoyment while still making sure you get your money's worth? Because let's face it, you probably don't want to eat a dinner solely comprised of steak, so using our goal of exactly $6.28 and the average calorie intake of an adult at dinner, which on the high side is listed to be 700, we can go ahead and Americanize that number and add about 300 calories for obvious reasons, and the fact that some people are not going to limit themselves to 700 calories when it comes to a buffet that offers endless food. Many people at a buffet just end up overeating because they're trying to eat as much as possible to get as much bang for their buck as they can. So let's assume, and the highest end of the number, plus about 300 calories, so this is being very generous, that an American is going to down about 1,000 calories on average at a buffet meal. Putting together a nice balanced and delicious meal, we'll start off with 2 servings of steak, making sure to go ahead and get the value right out of the way. A typical serving of steak is about 230 calories for 3 ounces, meaning our total so far is 460 calories and $4.50. Assuming you don't want a dinner just full of meat, we can go ahead and add in a serving of each potatoes and pasta, with both being around 110 calories, meaning our calorie total has now reached 680, and our total food value has reached $5.55. Now, according to the Global News, we have reached the high end of the average calories consumed in an American dinner. So if you take this number, we did not reach the goal and the buffet wins. The only way to reasonably beat the buffet while only consuming 700 calories is to get 3 servings of steak, which would be $6.75 and 690 calories, meaning if you don't eat a lot of food, the only way to beat the buffet reasonably is to have a dinner solely consisting of steak, but we don't want that. So widen those bellies because we're going in for seconds. Let's go ahead and tag on a serving of chicken, and to make yourself feel healthier, go ahead and add on a serving of salad. That way we have one of each of the categories I've listed in this video, excluding the bread. If we include the 110 calories and a 2.5 ounce serving of chicken, and the 80 calories and 2 cups of your average salad, that brings our calorie total up to a grand total of 870 calories, which isn't quite our goal, but if you look at the cost of all the food, we have reached a total of $7.18. And just like that, we've taken a little of everything from the buffet and reached our value goal without even completely using all of our calories. Granted, most of us probably will be full by the time we've had 6 ounces of steak, a piece of chicken, a salad, some pasta, and some fries, but if for some reason you have more room, might as well throw in that dinner roll. Go ahead, you deserve it. And just like that, with the help of 80 calories and 5 cents worth of a dinner roll, you have 950 calories and a grand total of $7.18. $7.23. Like I said, not everyone is going to want to eat this much, nor can they physically achieve it, but from a personal experience, I definitely could make it possible. Granted, if you eat a little bit of everything, you're going to need to eat more than if you just solely ate the meat options, but where's the fun in that? So, to sum it all up, prioritize meat options first and make sure you get ample serving sizes despite the small utensils provided. And then once you've got about 3 servings of meat, you should be able to fill up the rest of your happy little stomach with whatever your heart desires, and you should be able to accumulate enough value to finally beat the buffet. Also, if possible, stay away from salty foods as it will incline you to drink more, which you want to avoid as much as possible to be able to keep eating, because the only way to make money is to eat at least about 700 calories worth of food. And if you want something other than literally just steak, you're gonna have to eat way more. But yeah, thank you all for making it this far into the video. If you want to see more videos like this, comment down below what I should expose next, or what you want to see the history on. And yeah, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. There'll be some similar ones on screen. Make sure to join the Discord, link is in the description, as well as channel memberships. Go check those out, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.